friends, welcome back to another episode of Work, Life, Play, where we want it all. Work we love, plays and rhythms of love and ease and intimacy and connection and purpose and meaning woven into the threads of our life. And today I have another brother who is going to share some story with us, who is chasing some of the same things that we are. So my friend Zack Duhame, he and I met a few years back, and it was really cool. You'll hear in the podcast we talk about how we didn't know each other, meaning when we met, we didn't have any context for where we came from other than just what our name was and where we lived. And that was about the extent of it. So we really had a chance to just get a chance to engage in what's the effect this person has on me and who are they and what are they up to in terms of their own just journey. So super cool. So then I later learned, and you'll hear in the podcast, that Zack he's like uber, I want to use the word famous. I'm sure he wouldn't use that word, but he's a Hollywood stuntman. And so I've been watching some films over the last few weeks, and I'll text him and say, what about this one? So he doubles for Brad Pitt in a couple films I just watched recently. I'm looking here on his bio. It's everything from Batman versus Superman to a lot of the Marvel comic movies, and Iron Man 3 and The Winter Soldier and Captain Marvel. And so the dude is super rad, and less about what he does and more about who he is. So it was really fun to find out about what he does, and we actually talk about what does that look like, the art of being a stuntman in the world too. So I know you'll enjoy today. Zack Duhame, you can find him on IMDb and anywhere that you want to look up things about film, as well as his website. And how you spell it is Duhame. I'll put it in the show notes as well, but he's got a really cool stunt reel as well. So super fun dude. And I know you'll enjoy. He's another brother from another mother. Thanks. You can do this. Keep going. This is good for us. We had a chance to meet as friends first and learn about each other later, which I think is actually really way more fun. When you and I met, all we knew we were guys curious about how to live differently in the context of a spiritual retreat that we were at the mountains. And we were in a group together. And so all I knew was, you're Zack, nothing. And what was really cool is I learned to not do any research about anybody, don't look anybody up, and, just see what happens. So that said, now months, and actually a couple guys talked to me while we were together. They're like, oh, do you know what Zack does? I'm like, I have no idea. Oh, you wait. So for you listeners, let's see how long we can hold that part of the story, and we'll come back to it. One of the things I love about learning about you is your earth roamer. And then some of the pics that I've seen, they're like super cool. So I was on a backpacking trip with some buddies, and they were talking about earth roamers. I'm like, I know a guy who's got one. Yeah. And they're telling me like all this stuff you can do with them. So take us to earth roamers and adventure, and what is it? What is an earth roamer? And walk us through what does it mean it unlocks for you in life?
Yeah, great question, man. And I agree, just to step back and just say, absolutely, it was so fun to not put our work first in that environment. And whenever I've done that, I've also found, especially with people that do something that is admirable or interesting or sounds really fun, that kind of sidelines. And also we can put our identity in that so quickly can wrap up a conversation or cause it to go a different direction than the true man. So yeah, earth roamer, man. Oh my gosh. Talk about just a joyful adventure mobile. They're built out in Colorado, and they take a F550, so Ford 550, and then they cut off the back of it and they build on, they extend it, and they rewire, and they do a ton of stuff. The new ones are insane. Mine is an older model, but since day one, they just did things right. They just built them proper, and they made them so that the whole point is to get out in the middle of nowhere and have all the things and the stuff that you want and get it all there with you.
It's almost like, what was that movie, Mad Max? It's like the Mad Max version of a sprinter, right? It's beastly tough, like a 4-wheel drive machine, but with the luxuries that you would have in a sprinter type adventure van, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So they build these things out, and they put military tires, big 41-inch wheels on them, air ride. It's 4x4, of course. It's one molded hull, so it's really bomber. It's got 90 gallons of fuel, like 90 gallons of water. It's insane. It's got solar panels on top, so you can just spend all the time you want out in the middle of nowhere and not be missing anything. You sleep super comfortably in your bed. It causes me to get out there so much more often. And also just the idea of it, knowing that it's there, helps me just enjoy the freedom that it brings, the opportunity that's available, whether or not I'm utilizing it all the time or not. In periods of long work seasons where I'm kind of looking at it, rolling my eyes, going, what the heck? Why do I have this? I can't even use it.
Meaning, and then when sitting in the parking lot or
in my driveway. Yeah, exactly. Just going, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? But those are the moments of kind of more sort of fear driven, not adventure and inspired driven, that I think we're all susceptible to, but I primarily have just been so thankful.
Well, I love the pictures you sent recently where you and some friends, like kind of out by a campfire, playing some guitars or whatever it was.
Yeah.
One of them was you were camping. It looked like Mojave Desert-ish. And, some of you folks were standing on top of it, like on the roof, on the top of the camper part. And then other folks were kind of like down in lawn chairs. It just looked like a I don't know, hipster festival, adventure festival, right? It was super cool. I wanted to be there. That was it beckoned me, I guess, is what I.
Oh man,
yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it would have been nice to have you there.
So you mentioned a word I want to go back to earlier, Zack, and you said about getting to know the man. So if we're to get to know you, what should we know about you? Who are you as a man?
I would hope that I am fun and enjoyable and articulate and humble and thoughtful and adventurous. I would hope to listen well and see people for who they are, to ask good questions and find out more. Yeah, gosh, that's, there's a complexity to that question that's hard to just hone in on everything that I aspire to be. But I'm hopefully picking things that I think are true about me, but also I hope they're true about me at the same time.
Yeah. And I guess maybe another way to ask the question is, what are the things that you value most in life that money can't buy?
Primarily people, primarily the friendships and the opportunity of really enjoying all facets of the love and encouragement and hardship and suffering that is life with deep friendship. And that in and through God as well is, I think, one of the most beautiful ways to share that and to recognize just the incredible variety and gifting that we've all been given and how that finds its way into our lives. I've had to cultivate and desired to cultivate becoming a more well-rounded kind of wholehearted man, and consequently, hopefully attract the kind of people that admire that and want to also cultivate that. I think what I'm after is I want to surround myself with people that are complex and there's multifaceted, and we're able to kind of come alongside each other.
We use wholehearted a lot these days. I use it a lot I even hear it a lot. What does that actually mean to you? How are you cultivating that as part of who you are becoming?
Becoming a wholehearted man has been an interesting journey. I think when I see that, and when I think that I can recognize that in other people, it's men and women who have lived well, and to me that looks like not overdoing one area of life. They're not just like a work. They're not a holic anything.
Oh, that's good. You know? Yeah,
there's
not a holic anything. I like that. That's a good one.
And that's hard to come by. I can't say that I've arrived. I don't know if there's really anyone that I've ever seen fully. I think, sometimes there's an ebb and flow to life where certain areas are full and other areas are depleted. And then, as life goes on, you learn how to fill in those voids, and other areas kind of lose their ground. I know, at least for me, a good indication of knowing that I haven't gotten there is thinking that I have. Mm-hmm. And so as soon as I get that feeling, I go, you know what, I probably got more to learn.
I've got this nailed. Look, I totally have this dialed.
Exactly. But I think wholehearted is being able to live successfully, not only in your financial realm and your business realm, and doing that really well and having people admire and respect you for what you do, but also relationally with your family. What's your home life like? And what's your personal life like? Like, what is your inward story you're telling yourself? How do you enjoy yourself? And not on like a fake kind of superficial level that's circumstantial and only kind of shows up when things are going well, but on a sustainable way. How do you find that joy, and what do you find it in? So that's been a fun way for me to enter conversations with friends and family, and even just people that I meet, and learning how to be more transparent and vulnerable. And it's been harder. I would say I've gotten better at that in the past probably decade, and it's been much harder, but much more rich. And I wouldn't trade it.
I love the, not a holic anything. What is wholehearted? That's super good. And then I also love the, I think one of the things I've been just picking away at, I guess, is, just like, what does it mean for me to be wholehearted versus what does it mean as a definition across the whole of, like, what would it look like for me to experience more joy, more freedom, less efforting. So one of the things I've been noticing is I'm in my work world, I'm in the middle of or tail end, I guess now, of a like evaluation process, and going through and getting feedback, like 360-degree feedback from colleagues, from clients, and from folks more senior than me. And it's been super fascinating because how they structured it was, you set up conversations, they're 15, 30 minutes long, and you ask two simple questions. Where am I great? And how can I see my greatness through your eyes? And secondly, where am I over-efforting or getting in my own way? And what could become possible if there was less of that in my life? In work.
Wow.
Whoa. So I've had, right. So I've had, I think in the end, I'll have like 9 or 11 unique dialogues where I just set up the questions. They know them in advance. They know why I've asked, hey, would you please give me feedback on me? Mm-hmm. And then I just sit there and type, listen, and capture the notes. And man, it has been fascinating I feel like, back to this question of what does it mean to be wholehearted, is I now have like a lead on probably 5 or 6 topics that other people, and they're articulating, this is what the impact you have on me is for great. Mm-hmm. And in ways that here's the impact you have on me when you're kind of in your own way. And what was really cool is I ended up in tears a couple of times on different conversations about the part I'm great about. Like, not that I had no idea, but it just underestimated or undervalued, or, didn't see fully, like, whoa, that's that's the effect I have on you. And then on they call it the tips list, tips for what I'll just use is getting out of your own way. And it was so helpful because every person I was having the dialogue with, I can tell they're for me. They actually care. It's not just a chance to, knuckle up and tell me about how they're looking. They've been looking forward to it. I can't wait to tell you. It's not that at all. It's the opposite. Right. Like they're actually for me, believe in me, see goodness, greatness in me. And then they're articulating back to me, oh, and by the way, here's a couple of things I noticed. And what I'm noticing also is these areas where I'm not yet as wholehearted as I hope to be, they're also like a little mysterious, meaning it's difficult for even them to put words to. So it's more of a description of here's the effect, here's what I feel when I'm around you, when something is happening. And they'll describe the something and they'll say, so it feels a little bit like this, and they always have this struggle to like name it. And then it's been cool because then we can talk about it together. And I've mentioned a couple times like, hey, can I just go ahead and tell you what that is? And they're like, yeah, it'd be great. I said, I've learned this in 27 years of marriage, that it's just helpful if I just go ahead and show my cards and just say, hey, you don't have to work that hard. This is what's going on for me. And this is how I would describe it. And it's super cool because now I feel like I have this, my last call that I had, a friend I work with, she just said, I'd really encourage you just to be kind, like light, patient, and gentle. Don't turn it into a list of stuff to hurry up and knock your way through, right. Oh, great. Now I've got a development punch list. Let me get to work. She's like, no. These are just like categories to be conscious of as I'm walking out, my life and work. And so it just feels even that like invitational of, oh, okay, that's another layer for me of, oh, wholehearted. Okay, it's part of being on a journey. It isn't a list of stuff you got to get fixed.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, so well said. And what a powerful way to, just expose some truths about how people experience you. And what a beautiful opportunity for people to speak to your life. And also for you to be the kind of guy who wants to receive that and is willing to hear that, not provide excuses immediately, but go, yeah, I want to get better. And I think that's part of being wholehearted, is having that desire to not just avoid that critical kind of any criticism, good or bad, and just go, no, not me. Don't want to hear it. Don't want to look at it. Which, hey, man, we all have a tendency to immediately protect, but I think that's so cool. And then how rad for people to talk about ways that surprise you about the ways that you operate well, and what a personal thing. And
that's so great. Yeah, it's been a real treat. Like, man, I want to do this. It's been 2 years since I've been through a process like this. And just really appreciating it. And just finding that, again, I think this is true for most of us, we underestimate the impact we have, both for great and when we're efforting. We're efforting more than necessary, or we're in our own way. I'd love to pivot to, now that we had a chance to get to know you. I think it's fun because we're emulating how you and I got to know each other in the first place, right?
Yeah.
Which had nothing to do with career and work. So first of all, I didn't know the Earth Roamer was yours in the parking lot until a couple days into the guys' retreat. And I was like, what? Oh, that's cool. I want to go check it out. And then after, I think we saw you maybe down in town pulling away. And then it was probably, I don't even know, weeks and months later. And somebody said, did you know Zack's a stuntman, like in Hollywood, like Marvel films, like Lone Survivor, Star Trek, Valkyrie? I'm like, what? What? Come on. That's what. So we had this joke during the men's retreat about how if you wanted to talk about your day job, you would call it you either a chimney sweep, or you're a brain surgeon. Those were kind of your two picks or whatever.
Right.
So I think whatever references you made about your chimney sweep gig or your brain surgery gig, you did such a great job because I had no clue. And then months later, then I think I had heard from you, and I went and then looked up your stunt reel and your film, which I'll include in the show notes, which is super sick, cool. So now I've been looking forward to this part of the conversation equally as much. But what I'd love to do is let's talk about that. So
cool.
Let me just read this cool little bio verb here I got. So Zack, this is your IMDb, bio or whatever. So he's known for his work in Star Trek 2009, Dunkirk 2017, Lone Survivor 2013. And then Zack's worked alongside famed action stars like Tom Cruise, Bruce Willis, Mark Wahlberg, and directors like Clint Eastwood, J.J. Abrams, and Ron Howard, to name a few. And it goes on a bunch of other stuff. So tell us about, and for each of us listening, me included, this is like mystery. This is not our normal. It's your normal. So tell us about, what does that look like to actually have your job be to fall, get drugged behind cars, jump down cliffs,
right.
drive motorcycles? I want to know.
Well, what's funny is it is a mysterious business, even within the movie business. People will often ask me, hey, even on set, we'll be there and they won't know much about stunts because it's a weird conglomeration of really talented, smart, kind of wild, adventurous guys. And it attracts a lot of characters and a lot of interesting, kind of just multifaceted people. But it's primarily really fun. And yeah, there's an element of deep risk assessment, but also character judgment. And you want to surround yourself with the kind of guys that you want to have in your corner. So it's meaningful and it's so fun. I was fortunate enough to have my dad is also a stuntman. And so I grew up with that being a normal thing. I grew up acting actually. So I got in our union when I was 4. And so kicked it off at a young age. And that was really fun. Grew up kind of.
You had a union card at age 4. Love it.
At 4, yeah, I know. And I went into the my first audition. I went in and cried, and they're like, "Yeah, he's perfect. We'll take him." Yeah. So it
20.
It's always
30. How old are you now?
33.
Okay. Yeah. So for 29 years, this is your normal.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. So acting and stunts are obviously kind of two different things, and there's a bit of a blend that has been fun for me to kind of do. There are times when you got a part that requires some physical kind of stuff, and sometimes it's a big part, sometimes it's like a line or two, or maybe nothing, but just you're in the room with guys that are doing some serious acting, and so got to make sure you don't do anything weird.
Over lunch, you were mentioning that's kind of like I don't know, call it a developed superpower that you can do a both and, that oftentimes it's actor or stuntman, but the fact that you're willing to play in the middle is actually enables for you to do kind of some interesting work. Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a funny thing. There's incredible courage that's required on both sides of those two jobs. Acting is an emotional vulnerability that's scary, and you just gotta forget about how you look in front of people and just go for it, And on the other hand, stunts is physical and focus mentally, vision, and guys have different processes around that. But most stunt guys I know would way rather jump off the building than be put in front of the camera to say a few lines. Way more terrifying.
That's cool.
And
way
and
more
the reality
terrifying to say 3 lines than to jump off the building.
Seriously. And it's totally true. And then kind of obviously the necessity for stuntmen is that the opposite is also sometimes true. And so to blend them, it is really fun. And it's kind of, just for me, it's been a natural process because I grew up acting, and that's always been something I've been comfortable doing and enjoyed doing. And then found myself, just lifestyle wise and people wise enjoying stunts, and knew more about that because my father was a stuntman. And so was able to blend the two very nicely. Kind of when I got started, you had to sort of make a decision. People wanted to know if you were going to be a stuntman, if they were going to invest in you as a man and kind of help cultivate the craft and let you kind of be mentored by them and hang out under their wing and learn the way they do things. They want to know you're going to be around. You're not going to, change careers and switch paths. And some of that has kind of gone away, I think, in a really healthy way. And at the same time, I've seen a lot of actors come through and go, hey, I want to utilize stunts as a launch ground for my acting career. And that just rarely works because people want to know that, you're going to be the kind of person that's going to be around.
And is it because is with any craft, there's I don't know, what would be the word I'm looking for? Reverence to the craft itself. And it's kind of I need to know if you're going to pledge allegiance or not. And if you are, then great, we can do something. But if you're a little wishy-washy on God and country, then maybe you should go do something else. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's probably the best way I've ever heard it put. Because we've searched for the kind of reasoning for that, but I think you just struck on the core of what is really going on. It's hey, this is something that's been honed and cultivated. I mean, guys have died and figured out how to do the things that we take for granted now. Now we have a process for most things. I mean, my dad's generation, the guys before that, they were hanging it out there daily. And and that has, nobody's really told that story. So it's kind of campfire mythology. It's been passed down verbally, and and the stories kind of shift a little bit, but maybe get a little bigger. And there's a classic light bulb joke. It's how many stuntmen does it take to screw in a light bulb? It's well, only one, but you need 7 other guys to tell them how bitching it was. And
that's good.
And so but there is a reality too that I think people want to know that you're going to be serious about this, and treat it with the honor and respect that it deserves a little bit.
So I'd love for you just to describe, get super nerdy with us for a minute. I picture this scene on your reel in Lone Survivor when they're pinned down and they end up kind of lofting themselves down this rocky, cliff face, and it's tumble, 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 tumble. And there was, that was one that just stood out to me. So I'd love if you just pick a scene that you can think of that's oh, I did this stunt. Here's the movie it was in. Here's what it was about. And here's the craft. Here's the hidden part of the mystery that none of us would know about, because all it looks like is some guy's getting the shit kicked out of him as he falls down the hill. Well, clearly that's not your goal and aim. It is to make it look like you're getting the shit kicked out of you, but not to actually. So tell us, give us the nuts and bolts of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Lone Survivor is a good example, just because I think that the stunts in that were, we had a great group of guys and we were definitely going for it. And it also served the story. You care about these guys at that point in the story. It's a true story. There's actual meaning to what we're doing. It kind of had a larger story behind it. And Marcus Luttrell, the guy that wrote that book, he's there. He's around. And so you really want to do this service.
Oh, he's on set while you're doing this too.
Yeah, he was there. He came once, and I think he saw what we were doing. He said, "Yeah, I don't need to be here."
Cool.
Really, what that involved was us going up on hillsides and looking for places that we could hopefully safely do this. And we weren't using any padding. We were just sometimes removing, we had padding on our bodies that we could fit underneath our wardrobe.
Which cliff can I launch myself off of safely?
Weird. I know, man. I know. It's
really
so weird.
Legitimately, that's what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking for places we go, hey, how do we do this? Do it right, do it justice, make it look visually brutal, and at the same time, not get hurt, as best we can. And so it's that risk assessment. And also, you need the right guys doing that. And we had such a great group of super capable guys. And so, it ended up being fun, and we were able to encourage each other and kind of spur each other on to go for it. And some of them we would do together and some not. But, then there's other situations where it is we're doing it in front of a green screen, like lots of Marvel movies. We're in a suit. We get told what's going on in the background, and we have to kind of physically put ourselves in that world, kind of mentally and physically, and then do whatever else is going to take place on stage, whether it's a fight scene or what have you. And a lot of times now we will train with the actors. If we got a big movie, we'll train a couple months out, and we'll start honing whatever skill. It's like, hey, this guy's an expert swordsman. And so we start training. We doing that. Or this guy is kind of a brutal, hand-to-hand combat guy. And so we'll start training and going through sessions.
So for that scene, like if it's a hand-to-hand combat scene, you'll start a couple months in advance because that's the scene that you're going to be filming in. So therefore, you'll upskill or refine skills or polish those skills, even with the actor that you'll be doing it with. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, 100%. So cool. I doubled Brad Pitt on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And so we got in there early. He would come in. We had a fight. We didn't know exactly what the moves were going to be, but we started honing in on some technique. And he was super gung-ho, came in, showed up, worked really hard, and was just an all-around great dude. And so we were able to, when the time came, there are guys that are expert martial artists that immediately, just like anyone who's an expert in something, if you're in the military and you see a military movie, there's things throughout the movie you're going to scoff at going, that's not the way it was, or that's not the way it would be. Or you would be going, hey, that was pretty legit. That looked really cool. I like the way they did that. And so those small differences, I think whether you're an expert or not, come across in the story. If you see someone holding a weapon that they've moved around 1,000 times in the same way, you can see that efficient movement. And maybe you can't call it out for what it is if you're just, a normal kind of everyday person. But when you see that person moving with the kind of, just the regularity that someone who's actually been in the military has operated a weapon, you recognize that. You're going, this person, so this is what they do. That's
back to the rigor, the craft, yeah, that's the saying. This is how you hold it with the respect and dignity that your forefathers have. Okay, that's interesting. So for me, I don't hold a lot of weapons, so I wouldn't notice. But like you said, our joint, friend Morgan or others, they would notice. So you're saying you have that level of care and detail to the craft.
Absolutely. And some of that falls on us. And now we have military advisors. If we're doing like Lone Survivor, we have guys that are SEALs that some knew those guys. Some are just, SEALs and came in to help make sure that what we're doing is operationally sound. And then there's times where you do have to, as much as you want to do that, you have to make an engaging story. And sometimes it's finding that balance of how far can you just, extend reality, and how much needs to be what truly would have happened.
Yeah, that's cool.
But it's fun to be creative in those ways. And
that's super fun. Yeah. So you are very, it sounds like both emergent, creative, and then there's this through line of precision as well. So tell us about some of the stuff that you're working on right now that isn't out and released yet, but is kind of just fun stuff that's captivating your attention.
Yeah. Well, I'm not working on anything right now because of the whole COVID, but it's actually been kind of a nice respite. But before this, I think right before this, I worked on Matrix 4. They're coming out with another Matrix, which I'm not sure when that will be coming out because it would have been shooting during this time. So we'll see. Everything's kind of postponed. I'm trying to think what else. Top Gun. Yeah.
Some of that was in San Francisco too, wasn't it? They were shooting there. We were in the city.
Where we were, yeah.
Oh, you were? Oh, dude, no way. So we were there in the city, basically living there part-time. And on Thursday night and Sunday mornings, they were cruising in the helicopters in the high rise, the financial district.
Yeah.
Okay, fun.
Wow, that's so funny. Yeah, we were up there. They were getting cool helicopter shots, and sometimes shooting the other helicopter. So one camera and then one actually being shot. And yeah, there was some cool stuff going on. One guy and a girl kind of jumping off the top, and
dude, so that's you.
Yeah, rigging all that.
Okay, and what was the next one? Top Gun you mentioned?
Yeah, Top Gun. I coordinated a movie called Mank, which is David Fincher movie that I'm kind of excited to see. It's about the guy who wrote Citizen Kane. And,
no way. I love that.
He'll probably do that justice. And yeah, a few other things, but trying to think what else. Recently, Westworld just came out. I alongside a buddy of mine, co-coordinated the last half of season 3 of Westworld. So that was fun, and that's a very complex world. So it was fun to jump into that. And yeah, man.
So fun. So for you, when you're not working, when you're not in the earth roamer, what brings you joy these days?
Yeah, it's funny right now during this whole COVID, I was traveling for a bit. And I was gone till like March 21st, and the trip kicked off with joining an organization called Zoe, which is a child trafficking organization, which was really profoundly heart shifting. And so I did that with a great group of guys for 10 days. And then I just did fun travel after that. And so where I landed after Sri Lanka was in West Sumatra, out in some islands. And I heard about this whole pandemic, and primary reason was I was, just so much uncertainty. So just wanted to get back from my family, and also reality, I could definitely gotten stuck out there. So yeah, when I got home, there was so much rest that came. Obviously some uncertainty and confusion. I'm not working. So, pulling out of savings and figuring all that out, like a lot of people, but feeling very fortunate that I have some solid ground right now, and been walking through some tough times with friends, but for fun recently, it's just been, I planted all new plants in my front, just landscaped my front yard. I've been camping, getting out in the middle of nowhere. That's just so fun, being out in nature, different parts, and seeing big trees or seeing desert, being by the ocean, and surfing. I've been doing a bunch of surfing, and also just reading and hanging out and taking time to do the kind of things. Like, I've wanted to plant these plants for a while out front. I've been kind of procrastinating, and it was such a simple pleasure to get into a flow of just doing something that it feels like we were made to do on some level, and enjoy the simplicity of that without the reality of what I have very strongly is some FOMO of knowing, oh my God, all my friends, what's going on out there? There ain't nothing going on. So that's been a deeper level of relaxation, and just the rhythm has been cool. But I have the tendency to try to maximize my free time and just enjoy it. And so when things are open, I'm doing all kinds of things, and pulling friends in, and friends are pulling me in. And
so good. I love it.
Yeah.
All right. I have one final question for you. When I was a kid in Bishop, California, there was this guy who went to our church. My dad was a pastor out there, and he broke the land speed record in the Budweiser rocket car. And when you and I traded emails, I was like, yeah, I've only known, or like knew of, kind of like had dinner at their house a couple times or whatever as a kid. but he was this legendary guy, Stan Barrett. And I remember you wrote back, you're like, I know him. I'm like, no, come on. So I've held that question for us to connect on. So tell me where I left off is I knew his sons, I think, back in the day, went on to do some stuntman work as well. And I'm not even sure if Stan is still alive and kicking it, but I've thought about looking him up. And so tell me what you know.
I know Stanton, and don't know him super well, but we've worked on a few things together, and we've enjoyed some time together. I know that I believe David's his brother, David Barrett, and David and I don't really know each other, but
and they're probably my age, right? They're probably
that sounds about
50,
right.
Something like that.
Somewhere in there, yeah. Yeah, and so it's funny how the business works, where you might work with someone day in, day out for a couple of years and then not see them for 10.
Yeah.
Just the nature of it. But
they're still
those guys.
Tribe.
Yeah, exactly. Super talented guys, and grew up in that whole zone and Mammoth and all the connections to that. And it seems like they had some free range of adventures and enjoyment.
Yeah, so I can't claim that I know them either. I just remember as a kid, like sharing a couple meals together since they went to our church.
Yeah, how cool.
Yeah, and they were. My guess is that they might be a little bit older than I. And then when Stan had driven the Budweiser rocket car and broke the land speed record or whatever it was, and I subsequently went back and watched a like documentary on it, and holy crap, that is scary. Like really crazy scary. I had no idea. And I remember his wife my perception as a kid through that filter, like amazing and holy shit. It was like, this guy could die. But all I knew was like, I just saw like a, newsreel footage kind of thing about it, and then heard about it later over a dinner or whatever. But now watching it as an adult, it's like, whoa, that is super ballsy, gnarly stuff to strap yourself to something like that on the salt flats, right? I don't know what the speed is. I'll have to look it up, but they had to, anyway. So I just thought it'd be fun.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. That kind of stuff, I think, we lose that as we become older. We lose the kind of, as a kid, how amazing would it be to hear that? And obviously so much more impressive as a man, in certain ways, but the idea of doing things that have never been done and breaking records, and they always come with a price, and they always come with some sort of risk or deep, training and some lots of life that comes with it. So I think that something about that is so intrinsically inspiring, and
for real,
it kind of enlivens the heart.
763 miles per hour on land.
Oh my God. Do you imagine what? No, how tiny does the world get? It just becomes like a little pinpoint.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So good.
Yeah.
Well, cool, brother. Well, so fun. I'm so glad we got a chance to do this.
Yeah, me too.